Hey guys, this is Matt for Creative. Just got out of seeing Oppenheimer. So yesterday saw Barbie, very bright, very happy, good positive message. Oppenheimer is it's the movie that I've been expecting. It's the movie that I've been looking forward to across all of the entire year, and I think this is an Oscar-worthy movie, and I really think that there are two acting pieces in this that really do warrant Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor. And no spoilers, but is it Cillian Murphy? I'm really bad at names. Cillian Murphy, the main character who plays Oppenheimer, Robert J. Oppenheimer, has done an amazing job at just showing the anguish, the intensity needed, and the intelligence needed to bring something like the atomic bomb to life, but then afterwards realize, just as any literal human would, that it was detrimental to just maybe the entirety of humanity, but of course for the people that the atomic bomb was dropped on. And this entire movie is just building up throughout his story, which is actually good in telling his story, a background of his story, but giving us the relevant pieces that work with the overarching narrative of him like learning from, I would say, the mistake of pushing for the atomic bomb, even though it did allow the US to win the war, which is great for the United States. But you'll see later in the movie that it's not something that was a necessity to win the war. A lot of people, including himself, felt like the war was won already. This was just something that needed to be done because so much talent was put into it and money was put into it. And then, of course, it's always moving towards an arms race. This just changed the world altogether. But tangent aside, even though that's part of the movie, Best Supporting Actor, I really think is going to go to Robert Downey Jr. Matt Damon did a great job, but Matt Damon, at least in my eyes, always plays like Matt Damon in terms of just like his personality and caricature. I would say that after seeing Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man and Tony Stark for about like 10 years, it's really ingrained in you. And when you see that face, you really think, okay, it's gonna be that type of character. Either it's gonna be the Tony Stark character, or the Sherlock character, or his real personality, which is just kind of like intelligence, sassiness, sarcasm, all bundled into one. And he plays, and again, I'm terrible at names, I don't remember the character that he plays, but he plays the overarching villain in this entirety, and you don't really realize it because this movie's 3 hours long. But they do a great job at telling the story of creating the atom bomb, creating the idea of how to make this. Oppenheimer's just kind of his own personality into this. It's really hard to describe. Let's see, his own personality of being a genius level person that doesn't kind of, in certain terms, doesn't kind of get the way that normal humanity acts. But he does know it, and he uses his intelligence to his advantage. Not trying to toot my own horn, but this, in some cases, is what I feel sometimes when I speak to certain people. It's just that I feel like, and maybe you've been in my same position too, you've felt immediately that you have the mental upper hand, and you're like, what should I honestly do with this? You can see his progress in this. Early on, he's just like, I would say, traditional kind of movie type genius, and he doesn't get people, he's throwing his intelligence around, and he's just kind of like feeling like, oh, this is just, I'm this smart, I'm over you, we have to do it my way because I'm over you, I'm going to give you a lot of quips just for movies kind of sake to show you that I'm over another type of person. And because of that, it's just, you can tell that that's just like his baseline. But just as the way that I'm learning, and other people with, I guess, high intelligence also have to learn, you can't actually act like that around people. That just does not work. The actual integration with humanity, it requires you to be a part of humanity, to understand what makes other people tick as yourself, and to kind of mesh well. I would say the people who are very high intelligence and can't do that are their own special thing, but then there's the type of intelligence that kind of can integrate with the rest of the world. And this is something that really hit home to me. I really consider myself somebody who goes out of their way to really look at every possible outcome that's kind of like in my average day, but also that extends beyond that. I have never been somebody who's great at math, who's great at practicalities and statistics and everything like that. And in a way, Oppenheimer is in that. And of course, he's on entirely another level than myself, and I don't really want to make this about myself, but he, at the beginning, is not really the best student at where he is in college, and I believe that's Cambridge. The first scene that he's in, he's breaking beakers. It just, his form and function doesn't really work to produce something. It's really his theoretical mind that really is helping him catapult over other people. And because of that, he's really noticed by one of a professor that later on will come into the picture. But he's noticed by that professor because that professor knows that doing the maths, doing the statistics, doing everything is not the end-all be-all, but you have to have that kind of semi-creative but functional person to push things forward, to have that mind to see things that are outside of just like the numbers 1 plus 2 equals 3 and stuff like that. He understands that, and because he allows Oppenheimer to be that person who can work in theory, not just substantial things, Oppenheimer is just clearly just being pushed into a, I guess, more leadership position. And that may be a little bit hard for some people who are just pure intelligence, pure book smarts, and not really, you could call it street smarts, because if you don't have both, it's really hard to work in this world. There were many, many years in his life that you can see that he was just trying to figure out things on his own, and he wasn't really allowing what needed to be done to really change his way. And I guess case being, he really dabbled in the Communist Party and really had a lot of people that worked within communism. Those were his friends. Those were honestly his friends. And you could see that a creative person like that who really is thinking always outside the box, of course they would embrace new and fresh ideas, whether it be right or wrong at the time or even now. Of course somebody's going to embrace those outlandish things. And because of that, and because of the way he was still integrating with that, when I believe the Manhattan Project began, he was not really allowed because of his communist connections. And until somebody got into his face and said, this is why you are not here with us making a difference, he was just like kind of like not really understanding that this was something to hold him back. Whether it be right or wrong, it does not matter, because it's just what needs to be done to let him be a part of this miracle that's taking place. So he immediately realizes this in the movie scene, and it's just like, I will put an end to this. I will put an end to my connection. I will slow this down, and I will be all in for this because of who he is. And many other physicists also know what was happening because of World War II. They know that things need to be produced. They knew a bomb needs to be produced, and that kind of like, that urgency just has him shut down all the superfluous things that are kind of irrelevant in terms of making the bomb. The bomb is exactly what needs to be done, and it needs to be progressed because the enemy will overtake if they don't make the bomb. Long story short, Hitler kills himself. We all know this, but still the bomb is being produced, and I think at that point it's 1 billion or 2 billion, and 2 to 3 years into the life of this project. So whether or not Germany is defeated and Japan's the only one left, and there is kind of writing on the wall that Japan is going to fall on its own. The military and America still is pushing him to progress this and to complete the atomic bomb so that they can make that statement, they can make it, and make sure that maybe this, well, quote, ends all wars, or ends this war at least. Of course, it's not going to end all wars, because we know it's an arms race. So through this, they drop the bombs. There is just like the horror of who he is and what he did to actually create this. And I want to pause this here right now. When I first saw the trailers for Oppenheimer, I did not really think of the name. I have a terrible memory. So even though I've learned Oppenheimer through my studies in high school and college, just did not make sense to me. I remember the first trailer had like the chugging and the progression of a train. I thought this had something to do with trains and the progression forward. It had nothing to do with that. I finally put two and two together. Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, as he probably does not want to be called. I was thinking, how is it going to go from Christopher Nolan making Tenet, where it is just like a complete abstract thought, kind of visualized in this very, very cool and beautiful looking way. I really do like Tenet. I am a big Christopher Nolan fan. I'm a guy, of course, I like Christopher Nolan. That's just kind of how I'm wired. But I really thought, are they going to do something different with this story? Is everything going to work up to the point where they detonate the bomb, and will that change reality as we know it? Will that change reality in terms of the way that things actually happen compared to what's going to happen in the movie? And I was like, that's the only way they could make this interesting. But I think that was about a year ago. And as more things have come out, and literally after seeing this movie, it is a really, really well-told historical event. As much as I can say of doing my own research and remembering what I remembered from college and high school, it is just like one of the most honest portrayals of a person who is flawed, just as we all are and many of Christopher Nolan's protagonists are. But you can see that he was just kind of this overarching, maybe intelligent asshole, womanizer that you can see that's definitely displayed in the movies, but somebody who was, and they try to really push this later on, because after the detonation of the bomb, after the test, everything just progresses as it has in history, but the second half of the movie is really the later portions of his life, people trying to condemn him for making them look bad. This is people we're talking about. People do that to other people. People with power will do that to other people, making them look bad. And because of his ties to the Communist Party, it kind of fed into this. And it's just like disappointing to see that this is the quote reward that he got for doing what he needed to do to progress things in the world. Overall, in the end, he is kind of exonerated. It's a movie that you really need to see to understand, because it really is a story better shown than told in this way. But there is a case where this does span a lot of his life. Like you can see him in college through his adult years, really working on the Manhattan Project, and then showing his trial after. And then the very last part that you see of him is accepting an award for the work that he has done him later in life, almost, close to when he is going to be passing away. And I'm trying to really see how I can integrate this verbally rather than, you've seen it. You do see Albert Einstein a few times in the movie, and they are people who are close, Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein, where Oppenheimer knows that Einstein gave them the bedrock on which they are building this new world around them. The atomic bomb, the hydrogen bomb, and everything past that. But he also knows that, unfortunately, whether Albert Einstein intended to or not, he's not really progressing with everybody else. So in that case, he's being left behind. His work has been done, but he cannot help the next generation who are going to be creating these atomic bombs and other weapons like this. And there is a conversation, and it's really hard for me to place this in time. I believe this was after Oppenheimer created the atomic bomb with, of course, everybody there with him. But he's talking to Albert Einstein, and he is kind of congratulating Albert after saying, Albert, we kind of left you behind. Or Albert saying, I know you guys left me behind because I'm just either not capable of doing what you need me to, or you just want to move in this direction of building something like this. They refer to Albert receiving a medal, and Albert really referring to it as him not receiving the medal. Everybody else is receiving the medal because they are giving it to him. And they say later on and Albert says later on in life, this is going to happen to you. And it does predict exactly what's happening to him in one of the very last scenes and times that you'll see Oppenheimer. It's just, he is receiving that medal, he is receiving that, and you could see from maybe his point of view that this kind of corrects every wrongdoing that he thought he had, but no, that's just for other people's satisfaction in making themselves feel better about giving him something to kind of like close that off, push that away, and that is it. And the very, very last scene is after that conversation, Albert Einstein literally just walks away, and you can see that Oppenheimer is literally just staring into a lake and seeing everything and a possibility of how the world will end. And he sees literally nuclear holocaust with just bombs, warheads being launched through everywhere. You can see like 20 different warheads launched, and you can see in his eyes that what he did really started maybe the possibility of the end of all of humanity. There's one part in this movie where they say that there is a very small chance that the atomic process will ignite the atmosphere and end all of humanity. That particular thing does not happen, but Albert at the very end is like, or wait. I think it's Oppenheimer. Sorry, I get a little bit confused here. He is like, what if we actually did? And what if the progress that we made here in creating the atomic bomb did lead to that continuation to just destroy everything? Like, what if they were right in that less than 1% chance that this could happen, and this is what happens? It is an extremely poignant thing where, for me personally, I am sometimes held back by the many different outcomes of my possible actions. And I see this all the time in things that should be easy for me to do. I'm really held back because I really see the worst possible outcome. And I don't mean the worst possible outcome of, oh, I just fail and then that's it. I mean literally the end result of my entire life because of this action. And it being maybe a net negative for more than myself, but maybe others who are close to me and others just in the world. And it kind of scares me sometimes. So I can see where, like, at that moment, I was just silenced. I was silenced and I was thinking, it's something that I can feel, it's something that other people can feel. Their actions have the possibility to doom us all. I've never worked on anything like he has, and I probably never will, and the things that I really imagine for myself are not as detrimental as he himself created, but it's just, I can, in part, just kind of understand what is going on here. But all in all, the movie was amazing. It was 3 hours. I had to run to the bathroom kind of early on because I had burger and fries at Alamo Draft House, and it was good, but it was just like, oh, I gotta run. I missed maybe about like 10 minutes in the movie. I will watch it again, but that was early in the movie where you kind of feel like there's always this part in the movie where you feel like you can run out and go to the bathroom. I hope I timed it well, and I really didn't feel like I missed anything, but I just have to say the movie progresses 3 hours at a frenetic pace. As weird as it sounds, I always feel like it's a trailer with the intensity of the music and just going on, but like that for 3 hours, but not in the way that would make you go crazy. It's really just like progressing, and it's really thrilling, it's exciting, it's a beautifully made movie. I will watch it again because there are certain points that are filmed in black and white that I don't understand why were they filmed in black and white, other than maybe to separate a certain narrative from the rest of the things. And I'm literally trying to work this out in my mind because a lot or all of Robert Downey Jr.'s performances were captured in black and white. That's really strange. As far as I can remember, every single time that Robert Downey Jr. was on camera, he was in black and white. I may be wrong, but this is something that I definitely have to see again. It's a beautiful movie. I recommend it to absolutely everybody. See this movie. You will not be disappointed. Anyway, guys, it's been 21 minutes. This is a long review of a movie that I should just say, go see it. It has really resonated with me, and I think it will do extremely well. Again, part of this Barbenheimer, Barbie was such a fun movie. Oppenheimer is something that really makes you think. Barbie also made me think as well. I think they are a beautiful tandem in that I really recommend you see them both. I saw Barbie first for an early release, and I saw Oppenheimer today as an early release. It's just, they're two very different movies, but they're both really, really masterfully well done. All right, guys. Anyway, put everything in the comment section below. Don't forget, I'm on Instagram and Threads at M8B9. You can email me at creativenyc2023@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.